All right. Happy Friday, everyone. Here we are at our Total Traffic and Conversion show here. I'm Greg Dixon here with Betty Withrow and Roy DeCan. And our topic for discussion is reach your ideal clients where they are. So we part of our Total Traffic and Conversion way is to put messages out almost everywhere we can think of. But because people are in different spots. One Roy's specialty is Google business profiles. So basically, his people are on their phone, maybe in the car, looking for something on Apple or Google Maps. And Betty and I have been working with authors and stuff. So they want to be out in bookstores and things, and then we hang out on LinkedIn, and most of our contacts are through LinkedIn, and a lot of people are, but some people aren't. Other people are on Facebook, they're hanging out on YouTube, and some people just stay away from the computer completely. so our topic here is I think maybe Betty, you can comment on how to connect with your right fit client.
Yeah. Well, this relates to my topic of speaking in the language of your market. So where do your people hang out? One of the things I like to do is when I put my content out on Tuesdays at 10 a.m., I hope, when I'm being consistent, I put it on both Facebook and LinkedIn to see what happens, because it varies quite a bit from one post to another, who responds and in what way. And that helps me to understand who my audience is and, again, where they hang out and what's important to them, which is extremely relevant to how you create your messaging. So reaching your clients where they are is, as Greg mentioned, not everybody's online. For some people, sending a postcard campaign can be very valuable because it's landing right in a person's, literally their mailbox, their inbox, and they see your message, and maybe it points them to your website, which they never would have found through an online search. They had no idea that you were around, and all of a sudden there you are appearing for them. And if you're the right solution, they're going to go and look and see what you're all about. So, of course, that means you're not going to send a postcard to every single person in your whole area unless you're promoting some kind of a public event. Maybe, artist friend of mine likes to send out postcards before one of her openings with a preview of one of the paintings. And that's very effective because even if you don't get a chance to go to the event, to the opening, you still have a beautiful picture that you can look at, and that keeps her top of mind for the people who follow her work. So those are a few examples of meeting your clients where they are. Maybe your clients are on your email list. I think Greg put that in the event description. This is important because even if they're not looking for you online, when you reach out to your people and send them emails on a regular basis, then you're staying in touch with them. And even if they're not especially your customers at the moment, you're still in their world. And if something comes to mind that involves what you do, they're going to think of you first. And they'll also promote you to other people, especially if you put your personality into it and let your readers know that you care. I don't have a very large email list, but my readership is very, very loyal. And even people who have been on my list for 10 years or more and have never bought anything from me still read my messages and sometimes send me replies. And so that way I can stay in touch with people. And, again, if their life changes and they do want to do something together, then they know who to call. So,
Yeah.
I'll bet you found after many, many years, sometimes a person comes out of nowhere and they actually want to write a book or do something else you can help them with.
Yeah, that's true. Or people who have opted in from the form on my website who I've never met. And I can see that they're reading my follow-up messages that, like you said, almost out of nowhere.
Yeah,
they found me and signed up. So we're in contact.
Yeah, Jeff Walker told a story about somebody who'd been on his mailing list for like 12 years, right? and never bought anything. And then one day this person signed up and showed up for like a $10,000 live event weekend launch or whatever it was he was doing. So it was never, never dismiss somebody just because they haven't needed your services yet doesn't mean they won't at some point.
That's right. And they can talk to other people about who you are and what you do as well, which is extremely valuable.
Yeah. So that's probably the most important thing you can do is build a list and maintain it. The other thing is we're probably already connected. We have followers on social media channels and YouTube and things, and we need to remember them. They've already put up their hand and said they're interested in the stuff we do.
Yeah.
They haven't banished us from the realm yet. So so that's a good thing. But Roy, why don't you talk about, you got to vary with your niche domination approach and Google profiles. That's really specifically for physical locations. If you've got a place on the map, a dentist office or a restaurant or something, you want to talk a bit about that?
Sure. That's the thing I've been doing for the longest, is helping people that are local to something. It might not be local to me, but they provide services to people in a local area. And so I have found over time that Google changes a lot. They change the names of things, like started out as Google Places and became Google My Business and then became Google Business Profile. But these things are very effective. And once you get found on these things, it really never stops. I've got a client that I've only had him 8 years. Now it's been about 14. He's been retired for 6 years, and he still gets leads through the internet that started out as on Google My Business, and they're still floating out there. Somehow people just keep finding him on a weekly basis. It's no longer a daily basis, but it's still a weekly basis. After all this time, that's after 14 years. So these things are really, really good. Now, the reason that Google My Business, which was originally Google Places, was so important was 14 years ago, it was very difficult for a local business to be found online, especially on page one. And yet Google My Business gave them the opportunity to do that and really be right near the top of the page in a Google map. So it changed the ball game for local business tremendously. I don't do all local business anymore, but I always recommend that somebody gets a Google business profile anyway, because it always adds to the amount of people that find them, and Google absolutely loves it. So if you have one, they're going to give you more free leads.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I think we haven't really paid enough attention, but we probably will turn our attention to Apple Maps and Apple business profiles, because a lot of people have iPhones and that's their view of the world. And Apple Maps, when it first came out, was pretty terrible, but it's grown up a lot. It's pretty good now. So I find it sometimes I'm using it more than even Google Maps.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of these things are going through some changes right now, because there's going to be some privacy changes to allow them to collect data in certain ways, and it's all happening pretty quickly. In fact, I absolutely love the conversation that the two of you brought up about email. But email, as Greg knows, also is going to have a major change on February 1st. It's going to be difficult to get to Gmail addresses unless you actually change some information that your provider has about you, so that people know, Google especially knows, or their bots know that you're a real person, and you're not spamming them. And so there'll be some changes that are going to start happening big time February 1st.
Yeah.
But Greg and I know how to deal with that. So
yeah, well, we both use a platform called Kartra, and I got a notice that they're upgrading their platform to comply with these things, and then soon there'll be instructions about. There are a few things to link in to your domain name and things to help with the delivery. I think it's just part of an overall trend. They're trying to block people from spamming and a lot of people impersonating other people. So like Facebook and LinkedIn, Google to some degree have some kind of validation process, right? You have to sort of prove you are who you are. The days of just kind of inventing a name and starting up a Gmail account are probably coming to an end. They want
that could
yeah,
well be.
they
Well,
want
if you prove yourself, it might still be okay.
yeah, might prove yourself. Yeah, so we'll see. I'm also getting all sorts of uh, phishing notes, saying they're coming from Facebook, saying they need your proof of identity. But I'm pretty sure those are all
Yeah.
scams. Yeah, but I think along the theme of finding people where they are, I think we need to bring in the time that there is a time and a place for paid advertising, and um, all of the platforms, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, they can target an audience in a way that's pretty special. So I think we need to include that as that's one way of finding people where they're at. And yeah.
More and more people are going to ads now, especially if you can focus in on a specific area. Now, if you're nationwide, you can't really do that as well. But here again, the local approach, you can advertise just to specific zip codes, which can then be very reasonably priced to get your message across. And uh, you're going to get a lot more people with ads as far as the numbers go, but it also helps your organic traffic because either Facebook or Google loves the fact that you're spending some money on ads. So they're going to send you more free stuff too. So
More free stuff. Yeah. And you went through an exercise recently, Roy. You got a hold of a database of, was it school boards or what was that?
yeah, it was what was it exactly? It was boards of education.
Boards of education,
Yeah,
and it took the database needed some work to be functional. But going back to Betty's comment about postcards and
yeah,
print mailing, is that's what that's going to be for, because our client is going to do a direct mailing to these boards of education.
yeah. Betty brought up a good point about postcards. This is a very overlooked way of marketing effectively because people have a tendency to look at a postcard. They don't even have to open it. They can just look at it without doing much of anything. And if it's attractive in any way or says the right thing in some way, it can be the best way
Yeah,
to get in front of that prospect or client or whatever it is at that point in time.
yeah,
So that's really true. But yeah, so this is the National Library Database, which took a little work to make totally functional, but it gave a good place to start, and it was not all that difficult to really make it a good piece of information that could be used to send out postcards and letters. And it also has other information there too, but not always. Like sometimes it has email addresses, sometimes it has phone numbers, and it has names. And so you've at least got the name and address, and that's when postcards and letters. That's really all you need for that.
yeah. And I think you mentioned sending to a zip code. I think both the U.S. and Canadian postal services can help with that. I think they've got if you want, let's say you wanted to send a bunch of things to your neighborhood, like you can do that. I haven't looked into that for a long time, but that's a possibility. And
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, and of
that's
course
that's really where it's effective.
Yeah, for sure. If you can nail it down, and then as you found, there's a lot of information in municipal and government databases about things. So
yeah,
yeah.
I've used this National Library database over the years, and what I can do is for example, and I didn't have this much trouble with this one, but I can go in and I can find every business that's registered in my town, for example, or the town next to me, or others, and it's unbelievable how many businesses there are in a state of the United States. I imagine there's quite a few in Canada. You really don't realize how many there are per city, but with a national database that you can get to, you can look and find them. And I'm sure there's probably some editing that needs to be done there. Although I didn't notice it as for my particular town, it's relatively new that all these businesses are there. So probably there's more, good information.
Yeah. So there are tons of tools and tons of options. And going back to what Betty said, the whole thing is about creating the right message for your ideal client. What it is you need to speak to them in their language, something that they if you have something that can help them or they'll be interested in. And then the next thing is to go find out where they hang out. Like there's the old fishing analogy. Says the best places to fish is where the fish are.
That's correct.
Yeah. So otherwise you're going to spend a lot of time without many results.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess our invitation is to come and talk to us, because we can help you with a lot of things. The messaging, what it is you want to do, what you're trying to achieve, and then we have tools and strategies to get your message out to almost anywhere, including we can help you with creating the postcards and the content and the mailings and all that sort of stuff to go out.
Yeah, Betty is particularly good at being able to help you create messages that are in the language, the voice that your client wants to hear, so that you get a really good possibility of a relationship building atmosphere with a sales message.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. She's excellent at this.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roy.
There we go. The right message at the right time in the right place.
Yeah. In the right tone of voice.
In the right tone of voice.
Yeah. There you go.
Very true.
That finishes it off.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. And anyway, so you can reach us. Well, we're all available on LinkedIn. You can reach out to any of us. And we have a website, totaltrafficandconversion.com. And there you can make an appointment with us there and find out what kind of things we're up to on the website. And any other last invitations or comments here?
We would love to help.
We would love to help. That's good. All righty. So there we go. And we'll play our little video out and have everybody go off and so it's almost happy hour for you, Roy, in the East.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
The rest of you have to wait.
Yeah, we have to wait. We're going out for a birthday dinner tonight, so it'll be good.
Okay, so that'll be worth it.
All right. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.